How Hans Wilsdorf built Rolex against all odds. Imagine a world where wristwatches were seen as unreliable gadgets, far from the symbols of precision and luxury they are today. In the early 20th century, one man dared to dream of changing that perception forever. Hans Wilsdorf, a young German orphan with nothing but an unshakable belief in the power of innovation, set out to create a watch that would not only withstand the test of time, but redefine it. But his journey was anything but easy. Starting with a small watch distribution business in London, Hans faced ridicule, skepticism, and the monumental challenge of crafting a wristwatch accurate enough to earn the world's trust. In a time when pocket watches reigned supreme, his vision seemed impossible. Yet Hans's determination was unyielding. Battling personal losses, wars, and financial setbacks, he poured every ounce of his energy into perfecting his craft. The result? Rolex, the ultimate symbol of luxury, precision, and endurance. But how did Hans go from being a struggling entrepreneur to building a global empire synonymous with excellence? What sacrifices did he make, and what secrets lie behind the success of this iconic brand? Stay tuned as we dive deep into the inspiring story of Hans Wilsdorf, the visionary behind Rolex. This is a tale of struggle, innovation, and triumph that will leave you inspired to chase your own dreams, no matter the odds. Hans Wilsdorf's journey began in the most unexpected way. Born in 1881, he faced tragedy early in life when both his parents passed away, leaving him and his siblings to fend for themselves. But even in the face of such loss, Hans was gifted with a sharp mind and an unrelenting curiosity. He found himself drawn to precision instruments, and by his early 20s, he had begun working for a watch exporting company in Switzerland. Little did he know, this was where the seeds of his ambitious dream would be planted. In 1905, Hans moved to London and started his own company with a simple but bold goal: to create high-quality wristwatches. At the time, wristwatches were considered novelties, fragile and often inaccurate. The idea of wearing one every day, let alone relying on it, seemed absurd to most. But Hans had a vision. He believed that a wristwatch could be both elegant and dependable, a tool that anyone from adventurers to professionals could trust. Hans's first challenge was finding a movement small enough for a wristwatch, yet precise enough to rival pocket watches. He partnered with Swiss watchmakers to develop tiny, intricate mechanisms capable of remarkable accuracy. But even with these advancements, he faced overwhelming doubt. Could such a watch survive harsh conditions? Would people ever truly embrace this concept? With mounting pressure, Hans was determined to prove the skeptics wrong. Little did the world know, he was just getting started. The name Rolex was about to change everything. As Hans Wilsdorf pushed forward with his vision, the obstacles only seemed to grow larger. The First World War erupted, throwing the global economy into chaos. People weren't thinking about luxury, they were focused on survival. Worse, anti-German sentiment in England forced Hans to make a tough decision. He gave up his German identity and registered his company under a neutral-sounding name, Rolex. The name was short, elegant, and easy to pronounce in any language, a name Hans hoped would one day be synonymous with excellence. But creating a revolutionary product wasn't enough. Hans needed to convince the world that his wristwatches could be trusted. The breakthrough came when Rolex submitted its watches for rigorous testing by the prestigious Kew Observatory in London. To everyone's surprise, these small, unassuming wristwatches passed with flying colors, earning the first-ever chronometer certification for a wristwatch. Yet even with this achievement, acceptance didn't come easily. To prove the resilience of Rolex watches, Hans devised bold marketing stunts that captured the public's imagination. One of the most daring involved Mercedes Gleitze, a swimmer attempting to cross the English Channel. Hans provided her with a Rolex Oyster, a waterproof watch to wear during her grueling swim. When she emerged from the icy waters, the watch was still ticking perfectly. The world took notice. But even as Rolex began to gain recognition, Hans faced fierce competition, mounting production challenges, in an ever-changing world. The question loomed, could he sustain this success, or would his dream unravel? As Rolex began to carve its name into the world of horology, Hans Wilsdorf knew there was no room for complacency. Every success brought new challenges, and the stakes grew higher with each passing year. The world had started to recognize Rolex as a symbol of innovation and precision, but Hans wasn't satisfied. He wanted Rolex to stand for something more, a brand that embodied endurance and reliability in the face of adversity. Then came the Great Depression, a global economic collapse that crushed businesses everywhere. People were struggling to put food on the table, let alone think about luxury items like watches. For Hans, this was a defining moment. Would Rolex survive, or would his dreams shatter under the weight of economic despair? Hans refused to cut corners or compromise on quality, even as competitors slashed prices to stay afloat. Instead, he doubled down on the idea that Rolex wasn't just a watch, it was an investment, a legacy. His gamble paid off when Rolex introduced the perpetual rotor, a groundbreaking self-winding mechanism that set a new standard in watchmaking. Yet even with this innovation, Rolex faced an uphill battle. World War II loomed on the horizon, threatening to upend everything once again. Hans found himself in a race against time, working tirelessly to ensure Rolex could endure through yet another global upheaval. With the brand's reputation hanging in the balance, Hans made one final, daring move. But would it be enough to solidify Rolex's place in history? As the shadow of World War II grew, Hans Wilsdorf faced his most challenging chapter yet. The war brought devastating uncertainty, disrupting supply chains and forcing many industries to their knees. Rolex's operations were no exception. Materials became scarce, skilled labor was difficult to retain, and every decision felt like a gamble against impossible odds. Yet Hans remained unwavering in his belief that Rolex could weather even this storm. Amidst the chaos, Hans made an extraordinary choice. He decided to send Rolex watches to British prisoners of war, free of charge. These weren't ordinary watches. They were timepieces trusted by pilots, soldiers, and adventurers. Hans believed these gestures symbolized hope and resilience. His bold move not only gave POWs a sense of dignity, but also cemented Rolex's reputation as more than a brand. It was a beacon of endurance. But the war's relentless toll tested even Hans's iron will. Factories faced bombings, finances were strained to the breaking point, and the survival of Rolex hung by a thread. Each day brought new threats to his lifelong dream, leaving the future of the company uncertain. As the world edged closer to peace, Hans's vision stood on a knife's edge. Would his legacy endure, or would everything he had built crumble under the weight of history? As the war finally ended, Hans Wilsdorf faced the daunting task of rebuilding Rolex from the rubble. Factories had been damaged, workers displaced, and the world was still reeling from years of conflict. Yet amidst this uncertainty, a glimmer of hope emerged. The reputation Rolex had earned during the war, especially through the stories of its watches withstanding the harshest conditions, had solidified its status as a symbol of resilience. Orders began pouring in, not just from Europe, but from across the globe. In a triumphant moment, Rolex unveiled the Datejust, a groundbreaking watch that became the first to automatically change the date on its dial. It was a testament to Hans's relentless pursuit of innovation and proof that Rolex had not only survived, but emerged stronger. Customers began to see Rolex not just as a watch, but as a companion that stood the test of time, through wars, depressions, and personal struggles. But Hans had one more surprise in store. In a move that shocked the industry, he transferred ownership of Rolex to a foundation, ensuring the company's profits would forever be reinvested in its craft and humanitarian causes. It was his final act of vision and generosity. Securing Rolex's legacy as more than a brand, it became an enduring symbol of excellence and purpose. With the transfer of Rolex to the foundation, Hans Wilsdorf ensured that the company would live on, driven by its core values of quality, innovation, and philanthropy. This bold decision not only protected Rolex from commercial pressures, but also reinforced its reputation as a brand built on principles rather than just profits. Hans had transformed a simple vision into a legacy that would continue to inspire generations. As the years passed, Rolex became synonymous with excellence and adventure. Its watches found their way to the summits of Everest, the depths of the ocean, and the risks of pioneers who shaped history. Every Rolex carried not just precision but a story, a testament to the struggles and dreams of the man who refused to give up. Hans Wilsdorf's journey is a powerful reminder that even in the face of immense challenges, perseverance and belief in one's vision can create something truly timeless. His life was not just about watches, it was about redefining what was possible. Today, Rolex remains a global icon, standing as proof that greatness is born from resilience, innovation, and the courage to dream big. And so, the story of Hans Wilsdorf continues to tick on, inspiring the world with every second.